Today we transform this foam sculpture into a painted, finished product.
Let's go toys. Action figure, dioramas, and props.
In parts 1 and 2, we constructed, magnetized, and sculpted the diorama. But this episode's all about the paint, and here are the base colors we're going to start off with. First, I apply the Cafe a Lot color to the decorative roof pieces that we're going to have at the top of the diorama. I really want more of a brownstone color on these bricks, so I chose a nutmeg brown by Apple Barrel to start off with a base coat. I think that you guys will see this allows us to achieve that color of brick a little bit better than using black or gray or something else as the base coat. My goal here is to get really good coverage, and that means inside these window areas as well. As I let that dry, it's time to tackle the base of this diorama with a heather gray, one of my favorite colors to base coat when I'm creating concrete. While I'm at it, I'm also going to use heather gray on the rooftop concrete piece that we created in part 2. Next up, we'll base coat the door with an Anita's Hunter Green. You can go so many different color directions with a door like this for an alleyway, but I really love this color. Okay, so now we've got the diorama primed with all the base colors that we want to work off of, and we're going to start adding in secondary colors on the brickwork first and then the concrete pieces. But before we do that, let me show you the inspiration for the coloring of this diorama, which is a commission for Carbon Scoring, Spider-Man Superfan, and Comic Historian. In this scene, you see 2 different color bricks. I really want something in between these colors. And that means I'm going to have to mix some paint. So first we'll start with nutmeg brown, the color we use to prime the bricks. After that, we're going to add in some earth brown, also by Anita's. To finish things out, I'm also going to add in some orange. After a quick stir, we can see what color we're going to have. After my base coat dried, I took the new color that we mixed and I covered all of the brick pieces for this diorama. If you look at the brick buildings in old Spider-Man comics, you'll notice an orange and yellow color tone to them. While that's not the final color I want, it's a great undertone for us to use as part of this brick building. I didn't get a chance to get myself mixing this next paint color, but all it is this Cafe a Lot with the previous coat color. This next part requires a smaller brush, some precision, and a whole lot of patience. What I'm doing here is just picking out certain bricks that I want to be the secondary color and painting them in, and I'm going to do that on all 3 of the walls that have this brick color on them. So far, so good, but there's a lot more to do. I want a little bit more color variation, so we're going to do a 3rd brick tone. To achieve the 3rd color, I'm going to add in a little bit more of the earth brown and then some Vino color by Anita's. That's going to give me just a hint of some realistic red on these bricks. Now it's back to this foam canvas that is my diorama. I'm painting this new color as single bricks as we did in the previous step, and I'm going to do this on all 3 of the brick walls that we created as part of this piece. Next step is to blackwash the brick. This is just black paint and water mixed together. Now I'm going to cover this entirely with the blackwash, and as you guys will notice, this is a very thin wash, which is what I want because I'm looking for subtlety here. My thoughts on washes are that I would rather have to add more of them than add too much and not be able to do anything about it and have it ruin my piece. Sort of like salting or seasoning a food that you're cooking. After that first coat of the blackwash, I think you can start to see some of the realism coming through, which is what we want. We have kind of blended the colors a little bit, and there are some spots like these recessed bricks that are more prominent now because of the blackwash. So I'm going to do a little bit of a second coat of the blackwash, not everywhere, in certain spots where I think it would make more sense to have like a darker, more built up dirt area. For this coat of blackwash, the way I try to think is if this building was in the rain or in the elements for years at a time, how would it weather over time? And it kind of just goes with gravity from top to bottom. So that's what I'm trying to achieve with the way that I'm putting this Blackwash on in this step. And just like our previous paint steps, I'm doing this to all of the brick pieces that we have in the diorama, not just the first one that you saw. And I'm really trying to make sure there's some continuity. My goal is that they are all painted in the same type of way. After the black wash completely dries, I add a brown wash, which unfortunately I did not mix on camera for you guys, but essentially it's some brown and then some lighter tan colors mixed with water, which you guys can see. It adds a little bit to the dirtiness of this, and it also brings out the color that I want. And I'm applying this throughout the piece on all 3 of the diorama brick walls. Since we applied washes to the bricks, I also want to do a similar thing with black wash on the decorative pieces that we base coated at the beginning. One difference over the brick is here I'm actually wiping the black wash away with a paper towel so to make it even more subtle than what it was on the bricks. I also want to make sure that the doors that we created have some different washes on them, so I'm using a brown wash here and using my paper towel to wipe it away. Again, looking to achieve subtlety on this paint job, so I actually do this from top to bottom, and then I do add some the rest of the way through in different layers to hopefully get some different color variation throughout it. Next is one of the most critical parts of the brick process in diorama building, sealing the piece, and I'm using Miniwax polyurethane, which is a spray sealer that will not eat the foam. I did 2 coats of this and I let it dry for about an hour. Now it's time for the part of the process that's going to really complete the brickwork. We're going to put the mortar, which is going to be lightweight wall spackle, on here. Then we're going to let it set and wipe it all away, and we'll have finished mortar on this piece. All you need here is some kind of straight edge. I'm using an expired gift card and the lightweight wall spackle, and you just apply and scrape it off so that you've got some of it covering, but most of the excess has been taken off. The bottom portion of this is a little trickier because I have the decorative brick pieces as a second layer that I also want mortar to apply to. So I just have to take a little bit extra time to make sure that I am applying it in all of the gaps that the mortar needs to appear in. Also, a little something I learned the hard way, I probably should have done this process in sections. Because when I went to do this part of the process, which is applying water to a microfiber cloth and then scrubbing away the excess, I actually saw that it was curing a little bit faster on the top portion than I would have liked. Everything turned out fine in the end, but if I can help you avoid a headache, I'm here for it. Oh, and don't forget to get those door frame bricks. We want those to look good as well. Here's a quick shot of me realizing that this cured a little bit faster than I wanted it to, so I had to apply some more water and some more passes to get this off of the top part. But lesson learned, next time I'm totally going to do this in sections. Okay, so the first 2 walls that we have are done. I still have to do the main wall that has all the windows on it, and I still have to do the trim piece. But I wanted you guys to see that, you know, all the work that we've done so far has led up to this point where you can see a lot of color variation in this, and that's from the different color brick that we painted, but it's also from the way that we just wiped away the mortar. So since we sealed it, it did preserve most of the color, but one of the things I like about doing it this way is I do feel like it blends some of the paint colors together, and of course we also did washes, so there's just a lot of work that went into the result that we have right here, and I just wanted to take a minute and admire it. And I'm gonna make sure I don't have any spots that I need to clean up, but we're gonna move on to the final wall. For the final wall, we use the exact same process that I just showed you guys, except this time I learned my lesson and I did this whole process in sections. So bottom first, then the top. So now that all the brickwork is done, what I am going to do is I am going to glue on the rest of the pieces that I had, the decorative pieces for the roof. And to make sure I'm doing that in a way that is straight and level and all of that, I'm going to, I first have it on the base, And I have all the magnets in place, I have the roof piece in place, and now I'm going to hot glue the front piece, the back piece, and then the side piece here. So each one of these I have a specific side that I wanted. So this one is the first, and we're going to hot glue this in place. Here, the key was to make sure that everything was square and lining up the way that I wanted. So I definitely took my time and made sure that I was adding the two decorative pieces in first, and then everything was working off of those. Then all I had to do was glue the last brick piece to the ceiling piece. I normally do black windows in my dials, but I really wanted to try white windows on this piece. I thought it looked good with the brick color, so that's what I'm doing here, just a little spray paint. After we painted these white, these are going to be way too clean to appear on the building, so I want to subdue them a little bit with some sponge brushing. This is really going to help with the cohesive look of the building to make sure that all those washes and things that we did on the brick carry over into the window frames. If this building was in existence for a long time, these would not be clean. They don't have to be extremely dirty, but I want the warehouse windows and the smaller 2-pane windows to each have a similar weathering to them. And after wiping away the excess, I think we have a good result here. These windows are nice and dirty now. We might touch them up a little bit, but they are going to be a lot more believable with the rest of the paint job on the diorama this way than they would have if we just left the white spray paint on them. Now that we're done with the frames, it's time to actually put the window panes in. And what I use are these Dollar Tree chopping mats that are somewhat opaque, and it really works out great for dioramas. And I use clear Gorilla Glue for this because it doesn't smudge. I'll use a Sharpie and some scissors as well to mark my cuts. Because I already have the window frames out, I'm just going to work off of those. So I just make my markings and then simply cut with scissors. Then what I do is just test fit these in each window to make sure the panes are actually going to fit when we glue them in. I have 8 of these 2-pane windows in this diorama, so I need to cut out 8 of these and glue them into place. And we're all set. Time to test fit these in the rest of the windows. If you've never done this before, I highly suggest using this specific clear Gorilla Glue to glue your window frames in. Speaking from experience, I've tried this with a bunch of different glues, and I always get some weird smudging with other types of glues, and it almost never happens with this specific kind of glue. I use an old foam scrap to apply the glue evenly to the window frames, and then I just pop the cutout acrylic into place. After those windows dry, I need to glue them into the diorama so they're permanent, and I use this Hot Wire Foam Factory Styro Glue to make that happen. Here I use the same process. I use a foam scrap to apply the glue evenly to where I want the windows to stick to on the brick structure, which is half of the bricks that are in the framing of the windows. Then I take my windows, which have the panes dried in them, and I just pop them into place, trying to be careful not to get so much glue on my fingers. And I do the same exact thing for the other 2 windows on this wall. Just making sure that I place these with care and that they're in the right spot. Now that we installed the windows, it's time to test them out and see how it looks when we put a light inside there. See if the backlit capability works the way we want. So I'm going to use one of these that I got on Amazon, just an LED light that's adjustable. And put that. Okay, so before I move on to this part, I want to just explain off camera. I did do one blackwash across this entire piece, and then I did also start doing a little bit of dry brushing with some black along the crack lines or the divider lines of the sidewalk. So I'm going to show you guys just real quick how I do that. So we're going to dry brush some black on there. The theme to this episode of this vlog series is really subtlety. So because we're using black, you want to make sure that there's really almost no black paint on the brush as you're applying it, so that it more so looks like believable dirt or weathering than black paint that is skewed across this piece. In an effort to add even more weathering to this, I used a very, very light, subtle brown wash on top of the dry brushing that we just did with the black, and I tried to apply that throughout the entire piece in varying shapes and sizes throughout the concrete. So I didn't show this on camera, but I want to explain a couple of things, like these posters and this sign that you guys see here. So all of these are images that I found on Google Images that I printed out on cardstock just using a regular printer, computer printer. And then I got some cold coffee, put the coffee on each one of these, soaked them in coffee, and baked them for 5 minutes in the oven at 250 degrees, which gave them a little bit more of an aged look. So that's what I did on the posters. The surveillance sign also has some aluminum tape behind it, so you can bend it, and you can see there's some little spots where you can kind of bend the sign so it looks like maybe it was metal and someone dinged it. And then it has sewing needles holding it in. All of these signs actually have double-sided tape holding them on, so all of these things can be removed and Trey can put them wherever he wants. The last thing I wanted just to note is that I did add a little 60th anniversary Spider-Man logo, because this diorama was made during the year 2022, which was Spider-Man's 60th anniversary. So just as a cool little Easter egg, I put it a little sticker on there, just for him to have in his diorama. And then the last thing is, I did do similar dry brushing on the door that you guys saw me do on the floor piece of this with just black to give it more of a dirty and aged look, and I did the same thing on the employees only sign here. So if you follow me on Instagram, you might have seen that I teased that this diorama has two different layouts. One is the building layout and the other is the alleyway layout. Let's check out what that looks like. This diorama is going to be used by Trey from Carbon Scoring for action figure photography, and some of what he does is recreate comic covers. I also enjoy action figure photography, specifically ACBA, articulated comic book art. So of course I had to test things out. Here we've got a scene where Peter Parker is donning the Spider-Man suit because he sees that Taskmaster and his goons are going to be up to no good in this new alleyway that we've created. Gonna do it for this diorama build. I hope you enjoyed watching the process. If you did, please subscribe to the channel so you can see more cool builds like this. Cannot wait for Carbon Scoring to get this diorama and see what he does with it. Thanks, we'll see you in the next episode.